So it does appear that foreign-funded NGOs have finally found Ubuntu in South Africa, and in this regard, it's basically a kick to the face because you're full of nonsense as a lentil-eating hippie.
So this is a news that Extinction Rebellion went to a building in Johannesburg and decided to do the usual rubbish that they do in Western Europe. But having done it, they found out this is Africa, is not Western Europe.
So Extinction Rebellion are one of these loony NGO-funded green movements that don't want any fossil fuels, right? Because solar panels will save humanity. I wonder who funds Extinction Rebellion. I'm sure the answer is not so hard to decipher. But anyway, they decided to go to Standard Bank in Rosebank. Now, for those who don't know Rosebank very well, it's in a affluent part of Johannesburg. They didn't go to the taxi rank in Park Station, full of taxis who burn oil on a daily basis. They didn't go to the oil refineries or the mines in Witbank, for example. They go to Standard Bank because for Extinction Rebellion, they're thinking to themselves, let's go to corporate South Africa, which is filled by whites, and therefore they will actually accept us acting like lentil-eating hippies. But unfortunately for them, they fucked around and found out.
And so I got pictures from Paul Okwane, who actually works at that area and was there whilst this kerfuffle occurred. Now, Ramon, if we look at Exhibit A, we will notice that they said, we wonder if future civilizations will burn our fossil fuels, remain for fuel, higher we do to our ancient ancestors. Yeah, check that out. That makes zero sense. So this is exactly what we're dealing with. We're dealing with toddlers with chalk. Paul did comment that on the site there was an individual who basically just kept screaming about koi rots. He said he actually commented that it had very little to do with oil. He was very confused as to why a guy was there as part of Extinction Rebellion commenting on oil and then screaming about koi rots. And here we can see it in Exhibit 1. Our ancient ancestors.
Well, I wonder what our ancient ancestors collectively used to generate heat. Did they have solar panels, 10,000 years ago? Or did they just burn stuff around them? I have a feeling they sort of burn stuff around them. So our ancient ancestors will call you a puss for being against fossil fuels because ancient ancestors used fossil fuels to develop civilization.
So let's go on to Exhibit 2. So capitalism is harmful. Fuck and exploitation. Exploitative. Fossil socialism, whatever that says. I think it says fuels forever, a big kind of like X-Men mark, no more coal. The grand irony is that this entire message is actually written with coal. Anyway, I'm not really sure what Just Stop Oil has to do with an Extinction Rebellion who wants there to be no fossil fuels. Has to do with freaking socialism, mate. Unless this is actually a mask off moment, right? So this actually isn't anything to do with fuel, and it's just basically brown shirts for socialism.
The biggest funder of Extinction Rebellion is actually a man in London with billions and billions of pounds. So Chris Hahn is a hedge fund manager in London who has a hedge fund worth $44 billion. And he has interests in, well, as you guessed it, mining, property development, things that are built in the world using fossil fuel. But of course, this billionaire is so concerned about climate change that he funds Extinction Rebellion almost exclusively to sort of destroy his competition, perhaps?
Very possible. But let's actually go on to exhibit number 3, which is actually a flyer that Extinction Rebellion were handing out. And it says, more radical world leaders are doing almost nothing about it. Mate, this is bullshit. This is all we hear from bloody world leaders. That the UN right now is doing Agenda 2030 on sustainable development to, save the climate. The WEF, it's all about, saving the climate. Everybody's talking about saving the climate. Every world leader around there is trying to push a net zero bloody agenda to save the climate. And these guys are like, world leaders are doing almost nothing. What a hogwash, mate. You are literally in the inner circle of the elite, and you're still like, they haven't done enough.
And that's essentially the point of this, right? In Byron's country, the shithole country known as Britain, or former country, sorry, let me just be, Byron's a proud, patriotic South African. In his former country, you've got these irritating white Karens who glue themselves to the highways. and no one is allowed to go past them, and the police come with like refreshments for these protesters. So basically, these protesters in London and England generally can stop all traffic everywhere all the time. In South Africa, this small attempt at doing this very same thing has led to the arrest of people, which is something remarkably South African because this thing will not happen in Great Britain.
The people demand renewables, energy justice now. This is South Africa. You know what we demand? Energy full stop. Like, we literally don't care where it comes from. There are people that would literally burn their left toe for some electricity right now because we have stage 6 load shedding. We literally have no electricity. And these guys are like, we demand renewables. We don't give two fucks where it comes from, mate. Just give us some bloody electricity.
I mean, the irony is that climate justice has hit South Africa for the past 15 years. It's called blackouts. Right? So this is the worst country ever to come protest to demand climate justice because we have been given it by our socialist overlords known as the government of South Africa. But the key insight people need to understand about Extinction Rebellion, it is foreign-funded NGOs coming to our nation trying to impose an undemocratic mandate of sustainability. And what they are finding out is that the South Africans are very different from the British or the Americans or anywhere else, because here we don't fall for this cuck. We kick those people in the head and tell them to voetsak.
But, you know, Ramon, I am also wanting to bring through a final specimen. This stunning specimen was one of the leaders of Extinction Rebellion on the day. Check this guy out. His name is Angelo. Apparently Angelo got arrested for being a puss, and we support that arrest. Well done, Saps. But seriously, mate, have a look at this fruitcake. This is who's holding our country to hostage and who keeps taking our government to court and telling them we can't have prosperity by doing the exact thing that their bloody country did, you know. This guy looks like he belongs in a freaking mental asylum, or he at least needs a shave and a wash because he looks like a hobo. Are we seriously allowing people like this to dictate our bloody energy policy? Are we insane?
The one thing I can say is, Just Stop Oil, those that glue themselves to highways, please come to South Africa. There's a huge highway called the M1 highway, and the Taxi Association is very, very distraught about climate justice and they want to achieve it. So what I would recommend to Just Stop Oil is just come to South Africa, glue yourselves down in front of, say, Park Station in Johannesburg, and you will get so much solidarity and goodwill from the taxi drivers. I'll be very happy to film that as a propaganda piece for you, free of charge. That's an open invitation from Morning Show.